What is up, DCS Crew? Today we got the first of hopefully not the last knife fights here on Daily Carry Solutions. So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to pit two similar but different items from different companies and give my views, my pros and cons on each, a little bit of the specs, compare it to some other knives, and things that I feel would better suit me with regards to my everyday carry, and choose a winner out of the two knives that are here. So today, and I guess you can call this round one, we are going to go ahead and go over two American made out the side automatics from companies that you are probably very familiar with. One of them is Kershaw knives with the Launch 11, and the other one is Protech knives with the SBR. So let's go ahead and check out these two knives and see who wins this DCS knife fight. Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back. Now let's go ahead and get started here. Let me go ahead and put these two closer to each other like this so you can see them both. Now, just for shits and giggles, the one on the top is the Pro-Tech SBR. The one on the bottom is the Launch 11 from Kershaw Knives. They are both USA made. They both come from a long line of distinguished out the side automatics from USA companies, and they are very well known in the EDC community. The Launch 11 is a bit newer than the Protech SBR, and that being said, let me go ahead and take the Launch 11, put it right here, and as you can see the specs on the right hand side that will tell you basically the meat and potatoes of this knife and the ins and outs. So you're gonna have the overall length of the Kershaw Launch 11 at 6.75 inches. That's the overall length, and the blade itself is 2.75 inches. Okay, you have steel as CPM 154. That's a powdered version by Crucible of basically an upgrade of 154 CM. They created CPM 154 to kind of capitalize on a lot of the shortcomings that 154 CM presented as a good but not top tier steel, being able to elevate it to that top tier status. Okay, you have a titanium pivot collar that has been anodized bronze, and the aluminum scales have been anodized black. This is a plunge lock, meaning it's a button lock automatic, which comes out of the side. So once it's in, you press the button and it flips out with authority. It is tapped for left and right hand carry. Okay, as you can see here. And the current configuration is right hand carry. And there is the Kershaw knives pocket clip. And the windows in the handle, which you can see actually on both sides, not only give it some aesthetic, but it allows it to be able to go ahead and save a little bit with regards to weight savings. Okay, but the truth is this isn't a very heavy knife, being that it's aluminum scales, and it's a little bit less than 7 inches in overall length. It is a pretty solid piece of gear, but it is a pretty light knife, so it's nice to keep as an EDC. You're looking at one version so far of this particular model with the black wash, which is a black stone washed finish that I love from Kershaw Knives. And you can see this if you look up either Kershaw Launch 11 or Kershaw model number 7550. The markings on the blade designate that it is an auto. And the model number 7550, Kai USA, CPM 154, which is the steel designation, as well as the American flag that will designate that it is made in America. This particular one at most retailers, whenever it is not on sale, is going to run you about just under $100. They say it's $99.95, but let's face it, between tax, shipping, that sort of thing, you're looking at just tipping the scales at right around or over $100. Okay, so it's actually not bad with regards to being a stylish EDC and an automatic. Being that it's less than a 3-inch blade, it may actually help with regards to allowing an automatic in your area. California still can't legally EDC this, but I'm sorry guys, you know, you guys just have some really draconian knife laws, and hopefully Knife Rights will be able to go ahead and help you with that. But that being said, I'm going to put this to the side and show off the next knife, which is the Pro-Tech SBR from Les George. This has been designed by Les George for Protech knives out of California, Dave Wattenberg's company, and made here in the USA. Now, specs are on the right, so you can go ahead and see more or less the information with regards to specs on this model. And I say that because the truth is, unlike the Kershaw Launch 11, there are a lot of variants for this particular knife. In fact, the last time I checked the Blade HQ website, they had almost 40 of them. In fact, I think it was something like 39 on Blade HQ. Now, SBR does not stand for SBR in the firearms community. The original Les George design, it was very similar to this, but it was a bit larger, and it was called the Rockeye. This is actually the short-bladed Rockeye, or SBR, okay? And with a 6.5-inch overall length, you're looking at a blade length of just over 2.6 inches. It says 2.625, okay? This version is a stone-washed edge with just the machined or satined flats, and it comes in S35VN steel, although there are versions like the prototypes that were originally introduced during Blade Show that came out in CPM 154. They did make a small run of those for the public and for sale over at Blade Show when they first came out with this. And there is a Damascus option for the custom versions that they have come out with this. Now, unlike Kershaw, what they do is, because of the fact that they are a smaller company, they create a lot of different variants and they release them in small batches. This particular one, you'll have to excuse me, I got a little bit of crud here. This particular one has knurled handles. This is an aluminum scale. And typically you're going to find that that is either an aluminum scale for the production model or the steel handles scales for the custom knives. Okay, so aside from that, you have, you know, either a flat handle or the knurled texturing, like I mentioned before. I think there's one or two that are one-offs that do have a little bit of a different texture option. And to be completely honest, anytime I own a Protech knife, I always opt for a textured option like this. It gives a little bit better texturing in the hand. And I mean, I do like how they go ahead and provide this aesthetic with, like, it almost looks like a textured like inlay. Kind of like some other knives, like the oh man, which one was I thinking about? The Concept Sprite that also, or in the Gremlin that actually have you know, micarta and carbon fiber inlays, that sort of thing. So you have that. Now, one thing that I do have to say that Protech has done extremely well with this one is they've come out with a deep carry clip, which in this one I have swapped. It's a black deep carry clip, but I did request for this particular deep carry clip to be provided. Aside from that, it does not sit proud of the handle and the screws are flat. So this is truly a deep carry clip, okay? So looking at the blade itself, you can see that it does say Protech USA. That is their insignia. You see the steel designation, S35VN. You see the Les George maker's mark right there. And other than that, it is a nice sterile blade. Now, jimping here in the back, just like the Kershaw Launch 11, it has a flat scale on the clip side, but the presentation side, as you can see, does have that knurling. The hardware on this is bead blasted, and the opening mechanism is a plunge lock or push button automatic, just like the Kershaw Launch 11. Press it, it fires out with authority. So that said, let me go ahead and bring out the Launch 11 back one more time so you can go ahead and see them together, okay? And hopefully you can get a decent idea as far as size there. The Kershaw Launch 11 is slightly larger than the SBR. And let's go ahead and see if we can find a couple of knives that we can put kind of like as a comparison. So, oh, okay, cool. I have a couple of USA made knives here. This is from Kershaw Knives. This is the bare knuckle. So you can see it is bigger than both. You have the Benchmade North Fork in S30V. About the same size. That's just slightly bigger, but you know, it's in the realm. It's in the realm. Okay. You have the Spyderco Para 3 in S30V. Another one that's just a little bit bigger, but certainly, you know, within that forte was with regards to size for EDC. You have the Hogue Deca. Great lightweight design. In my opinion, the Bug Out Killer with a couple of caveats. Also bigger than these. You have the Kershaw Knives USA made Dividend Speed Assist 420 high carbon steel. Unfortunately discontinued, but still a great knife nonetheless. And I think honestly, in my opinion, it was a better knife than the Leak, but you know, it's just me. And then last but not least, you have the Benchmade 565-1, or what should have been the Freak. But yeah, well, I'll get to that in another video. So as you can see, the design, yeah, they are a little bit bigger than both of them. All right, so here we go, guys. Let's go ahead and talk. Now, with regards to both of these knives, okay, there are things that I like on both of them, and there are things that I kind of dislike on both of them. So first and foremost, we'll start with the Kershaw Launch 11, okay? Now, the Kershaw Launch 11 does not fire out as snappy as Protech. And the reason why is, I mean, undoubtedly, your Protech is a knife company that specializes in automatics. Kershaw is a knife that, well, in all honesty, they specialize in they don't really specialize in a particular kind of knife, even more so the USA versions. Usually when somebody is just getting into knives and they want a good first decent knife, you can find these. They're very common to be able to find even some of the USA models at places like, you know, Bass Pro Shops, you know, going on to Amazon online, or even finding some at Walmart, that sort of thing. And you can pick up some designs from some really good you know, designers. You know, Hinderer does a lot of stuff with them. You get Todd Rexford. You know, you got a lot of different people that have put some great stuff, you know, through Kershaw Knives. Ken Onion is another one, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the Kershaw Launch line is one that they have started. I think that they are on launch. I think they're on their 13th model right now. You can correct me in the comments if I am wrong. But the truth is, I feel like each one that comes out, it's missing just a little something to make it kind of just, you know, go right over that edge. Now, this one is a great knife, and I think that it would have been, you know, perfect for me if it had two things. Okay, number one, this pocket clip is just abysmal. I hate the fact that they do not have like a deep carry clip or something like that. They created this particular clip that's on here. It's not deep carry, so like this much is hanging out. And then aside from that, they decided, okay, well, if you're gonna have a deep carry clip, it's gotta say our name on it, because, you know, people gotta know that it's a Kershaw. And I'm not really the biggest fan of that, okay? The cool thing, at least you can go ahead and put it on the left or right-hand side, and that's perfectly fine. But they kind of missed the boat on that one. I'm not really a big fan of that. And aside from that, what else was I thinking on this particular one? I guess I could deal with, you know, with everything else on here. But the truth is, that is one thing that I was not a fan of, you know, with this in particular. Now, aside from that, okay, and I do want to go ahead and let you know about this. If you plan on sharpening a black wash blade, okay, if you do not use a, you know, something that just really touches up on the tip, which in all honesty, you should have at least something that maintains the edge on a knife, but you should also have a sharpener that can reprofile. And I say that because of the fact that not all knives come out perfectly, you know, blade centered. Okay, with the perfectly aligned with the, you know, the same height and bevel and the same degree of sharpening on each side. If you are not careful, and this has happened to me before, when you sharpen this, you are gonna get scratches and such, and it's gonna look funky when you go ahead and you show off the black wash in the light. Now, I prefer stone wash finishes because then I can, just go ahead and sharpen the hell out of it. And if it cuts, well, you know what, if it happens to have a scratch, well, there's a bunch of scratches there. I mean, that's what a stone wash is. You get these rocks that kind of create these imperfections in the metal, and that's what creates that look, but that's another story. But the truth is, with Kershaw, I actually have, that's one thing I've always liked about it. They're black, they're like kind of acid stone wash. It's that black wash that's been darkened. I really, really like it. It's not quite a black DLC that's been stone washed, and it's not quite an acid wash. It's that black stone wash or black wash. I mean, I've seen it on everything from their shuffle all the way to some of their higher end knives, and this is no exception. I really, really dig that. And the truth is, the size is just good enough that if you're going to use it for EDC, this is probably something that you can throw into, your slacks as well as your jeans or khakis, and, just be on the go. This truly is a very ambidextrous knife for that. So I did want to go ahead and mention that too, because it's not all bad things when it comes to this particular knife. And another good thing about that is, in all honesty, the price is good too. So I will say that. Now, the Pro-Tech SBR. Unlike the Launch, the Protech was designed by a knife designer that worked in collaboration with Protech. Les George, he's done stuff, believe it or not, with Kershaw, but through Kershaw's USA-made knives company, which is Zero Tolerance, or ZT Knives. In fact, do I have the box from here? This is one of their older boxes, actually. This is for an 0801 Ti from ZT. Not a Les George design, but you get the point. In any case, this particular model, okay, they start considerably more than the Kershaw Launch series. You're getting these at around $169 and up, okay? And I say and up because they can go into the hundreds if you get a custom. This particular one was a little bit more. It wasn't that much more. It was like 20 bucks more. I think these go for about $189 if you can get them. Okay, and that's a bit of a con. Now, when these come out, like I said before, because of the size of the company and the amount of variants that they have for this particular knife, if you're looking for a custom, they have like a select few. And if you want a production version in a specific variant, so say like you want a stone wash blade, or you want an acid wash blade, kind of like this, but their own version, or you want just a satin blade and you want knurling and stuff like that, you have to track down a company that has this. Now, it's very difficult because since these are made in very small quantities, if they are spread out amongst a few dealers, they're only going to have a few, and they go like this. But the reason why they go like this is because these are fantastic knives. These things fire out like a bat out of hell, okay? And like Kershaw, Protech stands behind their product. But what I freaking love about Protech is the fact that they stand behind their product. All of their products are USA made, which are not the same to say. I can't say the same for Kershaw. Now, Kershaw USA stuff, even them, there are some theories behind the scene that, they're not all USA made parts and stuff like that. It's not all, but that's besides the point. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Protech. Protech stuff is made in the USA. Their owner, Dave Wattenberg, he's such a cool cat. He's a knife guy. He came up starting knives, and he believes in all of the designs that he produces with the company, and for good reasons, because I think I have yet to see maybe one or two designs out of all of the ones that I've seen in his catalog that are out currently that I don't like. I mean, all of them, they're badass. The Godson, the Godfather, the Calmico, the TR series, the SBR. I mean, it is what it is. Now, if you want to see the larger version of this, the original Rockeye, they're very, very hard to find, but Wilson Combat actually makes their own version with some signature scales that look very reminiscent of the grips that they put on their firearms, like the Wilson Combat 1911s and that sort of thing. And you can actually buy that on the Wilson Combat website. It's going to cost you a pretty penny because it's a Wilson Combat edition, but if you want a Rockeye really bad, you can get one through there and not have to go through the secondary and pay a premium. So there is that. Now for this, like I said, this is $189, say $190. So that is putting it at almost 100% more than what, close to double what you would pay for the Kershaw Launch 11. Now, but bear in mind, you're supporting a smaller company. You're supporting a company that uses all USA made materials. Last I checked, there's something like 20 something maybe employees that work there. They're all really cool people. They're all knife guys. They're all receptive to, customer service inquiries. They'll help you where they need to. And it's a cool company to deal with, in all honesty. You feel like you know them, and it's like more of a personal experience than something from Kershaw. Now, that's not to say that Kershaw's bad, but you have Kershaw, you have ZT, you have Kai, you have Shun. There are quite a few different variants, and subsidiaries and stuff that are greater, that are part of Kai USA or, global. And Kershaw USA is just a small, part of it. Protech is 100% USA, okay? And now granted, while it may take a little bit longer to get replacement parts or to get a response for them with regards to, customer service for the knife, it's because of the fact that they're a small company. And aside from the fact that they're doing that, they got people that are working on, the tooling and the machining for this, cranking out knives, getting it out to dealers, marketing it, taking care of the social networking, and then, you even have Dave, the face of the company, that gets in front of people during interviews and stuff like that. And he really does footwork. I don't think, honestly, I don't know who the owner of Kershaw is, or Kai, or whatever. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody, tell people like, hey, I'm the owner of Kershaw and I'd like to talk about this, and this. It's usually a representative of the company and not the owner of the company himself. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about Protech. Now, this particular SBR, a few cons. Number one, I'm not a fan of bead blasted or sandblasted stuff. And, it's like that on most of their knives. In fact, I have a couple of other ones that are the same way. And they love to bead blast their knives and do other things. And I'm not a fan. I really like satin or, stone-washed finished blades. And I'm still waiting on the TR3 that's been stonewashed. I heard that they finally came out with it, and I'm dying to get one. But until then, it's like, all the variants that they have, you have to basically wait until one comes out, and then you have to be on the ball. You have to know, a dealer that will help you source one. And typically, you will find that dealers have a good relationship with them, but to get one is just a pain sometimes, man. I couldn't pick this one up on the first initial wave of SBRs that came out. And by luck, I found somebody who had one and gave me a really good deal on it. So I was really happy to get that. Now, not tapped for left-hand carry, just so that you can see, okay, the launch is. And with regards to the feel of the knife, even though it is a smaller knife overall and with a smaller blade, you can still technically get, all four fingers on there with your thumb here in the back. The jimping is a little bit more robust on the SBR than the Kershaw Launch 11. But what I do typically is I have my index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and then my pinky is right here towards the back. Kind of like how I would grip a Glock 26, because it's got like really, really small grip here. So I put the 3 on the actual knife and just one kind of wrapped around the bottom, kind of tuck it into the palm swell right here, and it is good to go to be used. And I honestly, I've really enjoyed working with this knife. Plus, it's an actually wider knife, and it has a thicker stock than the Kershaw Launch 11, even though it's a little bit smaller. And for me, for EDC tasks, for something that's a little bit more, demanding of the knife, I kind of find that I reach towards the Pro-Tech SBR a bit more than the Kershaw Launch 11. But that's not to say that the Kershaw Launch 11 is a bad knife. In fact, I think that this plays a little bit more towards, my particular EDC, where, it's like an office EDC or, casual Friday or going out, that sort of thing. I could see this being in my pocket a lot more than the SBR, even though the SBR can perform a lot of tasks that, while this can, it may not be up to the level of the SBR, okay? Now, as far as the tooling inside, I'm not the biggest fan of the way that they have their screws set up. If you can see it from here, they have these weird screws that they're not quite Torx. And I say it because, I mean, you can look, maybe I can show it off this way. Okay, this is a screw that's meant for Torx. And then maybe you can see, those are Torx. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the hell these are. And I know that they got Torx screws because that's what they use for their pocket clips. So I don't know what the hell it is, or maybe they just don't want people to go ahead and mess with their knives. But, you know, that being said, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Now, the final verdict on these. Okay. Kershaw Launch 11, Pro-Tech SBR. For me, okay, if this was not the pandemic, and I was using the knives, you know, a bit more often, you know, like I'm wearing my knives in the office and, you know, doing that sort of thing, I would probably side with the Launch 11 more. If it was, well, like it is right now, where you usually see me out on the street, just handling, you know, normal tasks and stuff like that, you would see me reach for the Protech SBR. So being that it is that case, my winner for this knife fight is the Protech SBR. Now, that's not without some caveats. You're going to be paying more for the SBR. It's going to be harder to find the SBR. And if you do find the SBR, it's going to be harder to find your particular variant because of the size of the company. But you have a robust knife that was designed specifically for Protech by an outside designer who has had an existing relationship with the company, and you get quality steel. I don't know about you guys, but if you showed me a knife in CPM 154 and then you showed me the variant in S35VN, I really don't care too much between the two. They're both top tier steels. If they're heat treated right, if they have, the chemical compositions are done correctly, so where they don't deteriorate prematurely when they're being used. If the Rockwell scale is done to the where you can get the most out of the blade, the right blade geometry. I mean, either one is going to serve you extremely well. But S35VN is a knife steel that was made specifically for knives. In fact, it was made by Chris Reeve, in conjunction with, I believe, Crucible for the Sabenza. And a lot of companies have gotten, their hands on S35VN and have done right by it. I can tell you with Protech particularly, when they use 154 CM, okay, not even S35VN, when they use 154 CM, and I put the stones on my my KME to be able to go ahead and sharpen it, reprofile edges and stuff, it takes me longer to reprofile and sharpen that 154 CM than it does with some knives from other companies, like say Benchmade with their their S90V on this Mini Freak. I've done S110V with Spyderco, and it take me less time than with Protech's 154 CM. So the S35VN, I would guesstimate, okay, because I haven't had to reprofile this blade yet, that it's been done, if done well, it's going to hold up a hell of a lot better than a larger production company's CPM 154, okay? Now, the fact is, you have a larger company like Kershaw, okay, that has a small subsidiary that does USA blades, and when they do USA blades, there are sometimes through their Kershaw line, which is their budget line, they do have M390, they have 20CV, they have N690, they have, CPM D2, they have CPM 154, and that's great, that's cool. But the point is, people get that because of increased corrosion resistance and better cutting and staying power between sharpening. If you have those steels and they're not hardened correctly, if you don't have the correct blade angle, the edge geometry and items that come into play with that particular knife, it doesn't matter what kind of boutique steel you have. Now, granted, this is a company that specializes in knives, and they've been doing the OTS, or the out the side knives, since inception. They've been working with 154 CM, CPM 154, Damascus, their own version of their own Damascus steel, and S35VN recently with a lot of their newer knives, like the Sprint, and a couple of variants, even in 20 CV. You know, I did have a TR, I want to say the TR2 in 20 CV. But for the most part, you'll see it in 154 CM or the newer models in S35 VN. My experience has always been that their knives have sharpened extremely well. This is no exception. And so that would be my case for the Pro-Tech SBR. Now, granted, I'm right-handed and I have no problem with the fact there is no, you know, left-handed carry, but it was just, I mean, having a left-handed with this, you know, button here as well, it's just weird. And let me see if it does it here. Okay. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's not locked. If you press this button one more time, it automatically locks. That's something that I've always liked about the SBR. Even if for whatever reason it's so gunked up inside that it doesn't fire out all the way, boom, you can press the button and it locks up. But if you don't, guys, this thing fires like a freaking maniac. So, knife fight winner for round one, it is the Protech SBR. And I mean, in all honesty, the Kershaw Launch 11 is nothing to slouch at either. I mean, think of it kind of like, you know, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. You know, they both went the distance, they both threw the punches, but at the end of the day, you know, Mike Tyson was bigger and badder. And, you know, he's the one that came out the victor. And particularly for me, I will pay the extra money and support a small business like Protech and pick up some of their knives. I love their knives. I have, you know, the Calmigo, the TR3. I have, you know, the SBR. I might have one that's on the way. Not going to talk too much about that. But as you could have seen, as you saw with some of my, you know, knives that I came out with, you know, I do have quite a few of the USA-made Kershaws. It doesn't mean I don't like them. The truth is, support American. I mean, if you can afford it, if you can afford, you know, an automatic, but you only have $100, get yourself a Launch 11. If you can afford more, get yourself a Protech. You will not be disappointed with either one. But the truth is, while the proof is in the pudding, for me, based on my usage, the Protech SBR is the one that takes it. Guys, this has been round one of the knife fights here on DCS. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more of these knife fights. Let me know what your pick would have been in the comments. And if you have any questions about either of these knives, I will do my best to go ahead and answer them. And just remember, whether it is the Protech SBR or hey, maybe you are carrying a launch variant like this Kershaw Launch 11. If you EDC, just remember, think of DCS. Thank you so much for watching. Carry on, guys. I gotta go. And I will see you all later.